Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Since you guys liked the previous two videos about how to analyze any chart from scratch without using any indicators, just by using price action and market structure, and as promised, this time we'll make analysis on Netflix, on a stock, right? Since last time we did CAD JPY and then we did GBP CAD. If you haven't watched it yet, I will make sure to attach the links in the description section below. So let's get started. Cheers. So as usual, for those who are familiar with the trading style, we always start from the weekly and daily time frames, zoomed out, and then zoom in to monitor the price action to know where we stand in the market, right? We have to know if we are overall bullish, if we are overall bearish, or we are stuck inside a range like the situation here, as you can clearly see. Then, when we identify our key rejection levels and market structure, then we zoom into lower time frames like H4, H1, or even M30 time frame to look for possible entries. For example, here we'll be looking for possible trend following buy setups unless price breaks it downward and so on. So let's get started, right? First of all, we start with the weekly time frame. We zoom out to the max to know where we set the market, and we can clearly see that Netflix is overall bullish, right? And yes, we have a range here, price broke it upward, and we have a trend continuation. It's like, here we go, it's like a symmetrical triangle, and then price broke it upward, and we have a trend continuation. So we know that from weekly time frame that we are overall bullish, right? And price seems to be, the buyers seems to be very, very strong. However, if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that we had an impulse movement, and starting from here, the market seems to be stuck inside this range. So in this case, we have two possible scenarios, either a trend reversal, right? Or like here, like this symmetrical triangle, a trend continuation. But we can't know now, as we always say, we react, we don't predict. So please don't try to catch the exact top or bottom, or don't try to predict what's going to happen. For example, I know many traders who predict that Netflix is going to break to the upside, and of course, in this case, they will buy immediately. Always wait for extra confirmation for the break of the structure. For in this example, if price breaks this structure upward, then and only then we can say that the bulls are gaining full control again. But from weekly time frame, we know that the bulls are tired, as price was making higher highs and higher lows with a very small range, with a very small corrective movement. It's almost flat, right? Because we know that in an uptrend, price would be making higher highs and higher lows, and usually the corrective movement would be big, right? But here, as you can see, the buyers are not letting the sellers make this corrective movement. As you can see, impulse, nearly flat, or a range corrective, and then impulse, right? So impulse, range, impulse. However, starting from here, right, the bulls are losing momentum. Why? How do we know that the bulls are losing momentum? Because they aren't able to push price like before. If they were able to push price like before, we would see a range, impulse, range, impulse, right? Here we have a range and we would see an impulse. However, we can clearly see that the bulls couldn't make even a higher high, which means that they are losing momentum. Here's our previous high, and in this case, since price never made it there, we can call it our all-time high, or also known as A, T, and H. Okay, so Netflix is currently sitting around its. Give me a moment. So Netflix is currently sitting around its current new because his price was around here. He was our all-time high. Then price made a new all-time high. So for now, here's or here, if we can be precisely, here's our new all-time high. So for Netflix to trade any higher, it has to break above this area, right? So for now, from a weekly perspective, we can say that we know that the market might reverse. We know that the buyers aren't strong enough as they were before, but the reversal isn't confirmed yet. Why? And when the reversal would be confirmed? So price is making higher highs and higher lows, right? Higher highs and higher lows. So until the price breaks below the previous low, we can't say that the market is now reversed. Let me show to you clearly. Let me zoom in. Okay, so higher high, high, and higher high, and higher low, right? So here's our last low around here. Then price made a new low. Here's our last low, and then a higher high. Then price made a new higher low. So higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high, and here we go. Then price got stuck inside this range. So here's our previous high, and here's our previous low, right? So until price breaks below the previous low, we can say that we have a shift in momentum from bullish to bearish. So for now, from weekly time frame, we can say that we are currently stuck inside a range, and we'll be looking for a break to look for sell setups, or a break to look for buy setups, right? And of course, since this big range is from weekly time frame, we will be zooming into lower time frames now and look for possible buy setups here and sell setups here, since this small impulse movement on weekly time frame may be a big impulse movement on M30 or H1, right? So for now, we know that from a market structure perspective where we are in the market. Now let's zoom out and try to identify our key support and resistance levels. And as you can see, we can't really find any support or resistance as price keeps on making new all-time highs, right? So, but we can see that, here we go, let me delete the previous ones. We can see that in this case, since price, we don't have a typical support and resistance. For example, a typical support and resistance would be when we have many failed attempts to break above a level. In this case, it's a resistance, right? And here we go. Or many failed attempts to break below a level. In this case, we would have a support. And of course, when a resistance is broken, it becomes support. And when a support is broken, it becomes resistance, right? But since price keeps on making new all-time highs, if we zoom out, we can't really draw any support and resistance. That's why, and in this case, we go for round numbers. For example, here we go. Here we have the 400 round number, which is a very, very strong psychological level, right? Here we go. And as you clearly see, price reached the 400 and then rejected it downward. Then price couldn't break above it. Then we had a nice breakout. And here we go. Let me zoom in. We had a breakout of the structure, which, as mentioned before, is a symmetrical triangle, right? Here we go. And then price broke our 400 upward with a very big momentum candle, and we had a nice retest and a trend continuation. That's exactly what we want to see here. Here, as you can see, price is forming. Let me delete the previous ones. Sometimes I get overexcited. So here we go. So price is currently trading inside this range. We'll see it even better on daily time frame. So for price to continue trading higher, it has to break above this area. And then just like here, a big momentum candle, then retest, here we go. And then we'll be looking for trend following buy setups. But for now, we can't really know what may happen. And of course, price can still go down, break this symmetric triangle downward, and then we'll have a bearish movement. So that's our first key rejection level, right? And we also have one here around 250, right? 250, which is a very strong round number also. Price pocket upward, retest, continue upward, then it's acting as support, support, and support, right? Let me delete it, and here we go. And of course we can even draw there around 100 and so on, but we won't really need it now as price is sitting around here. Let's see if we have any round numbers here. Let's see the 500. Here we go. Yes, 500 is a very, very strong round number. Okay, and let's see. Here we have the 600, right? Which is also a strong round number. So let's make this one in red, this one in, let's make it in green. Not this one, it's too bright. And here we go. Let's make this one in green as well. So green, blue, right? So price is currently sitting inside this floor. We'll be looking for sell setups around our upper one and buy setups around our lower one. And price is currently sitting inside this floor. That's why we are looking for sell setups now, especially around our upper red trend line here, for forming like an ascending triangle. And we all know that an ascending triangle is a bullish trend continuation pattern. So we can expect a break to the upside, right? But as I always say, an ascending triangle can also be broken downward. Okay, so as I always say, stay open-minded and always follow the price. As if you are only looking for buy setups and price may break this one downward, you may miss the bearish movement. Okay, so let's delete these ones. So from weekly time frame, look how many information we can gather just from weekly time frame. Imagine if we zoom into lower time frames. And as I always say, it's always better to start from the weekly than daily, than zoom in. Many traders start with the M30 and H1 and then zoom out. It's always better to see the big picture, then we'll zoom in to look for buy or sell opportunities. So let's continue from here. We know that we are inside this floor. We'll be looking for buy setups around our lower 500 round number and sell setups around our upper 600, right? Let me remove. Here we go. So now we already know that 600 and 500. And the good thing here that we also have extra confluence. For example, here we also have a trend line, right? We have this ascending triangle. So here would be a very good opportunity to look for buy setups, for high probability buy setups. Why? Because we have this trend line, which is a trend following, and we have this 500, which acts as support. It's not a typical support, right? Because price didn't make many failed attempts to break above it or below it. But as mentioned before, it's a very strong round number. And of course, we'll be looking for buy setups around the upper one, which is also very close to the 600. So that's what we know from weekly time frame. And we can also zoom out a little bit and let's see if we can draw any trend lines. Yes, we can. Here we go. I always like to make these kind of trend lines in brown. Here we go. So that I know that this kind of trend line is a long-term trend line, what I call outer trend line. So OUTER, it's an outer trend line to give us an overall bias and overall direction. And I always try to make an offset. Here we go. And we can even make it a little bit lower and this one a little bit higher. But even if we kept it this way, parallel to this one, right, here we go, I always consider that, here's something new. I always consider that this area acts as an overbought area in this case. And this one acts as an oversold area. So that's exactly how you know if the market is overextended or overbought or oversold, simply from price action, without using RSI or stochastic, CCI, or whatever your oscillator you would like to use. You can know if the market is overextended or overbought simply by making an offset to your trend line. And of course, this is an overbought area, right? It's not, and of course, the oscillators don't give you direct signals to buy and sell. Don't ever follow the oscillators blindly. So, but it gives you an idea, or it gives you a hint that a reversal might occur from here. And of course, price can still break it upward and make a retest, as mentioned before, and continue trading higher. But let's keep it this way. And as you can see, we can know that here's one more confluence that price may reject from here. So look how beautiful our weekly time frame looks now, right? And look how many information we already gathered. Now let's zoom into lower time frames and let's see if we can add anything on daily. I doubt that we can add anything since we already drew many things from weekly time frame. So here's our view from daily time frame, and here we go. And if you believe that this one is already broken, yes, it was a very big gap. Sorry, here we go. It was a very big gap. You will see many gaps, especially in stocks. Here we go, and here we go. We have many gaps, and usually the gaps act as potential supply and demand. So as you can see, when you have a gap, price will go and fill it, then go down. Okay. So here we go. Here we have a gap. Price now is going to fill it, and then it may go up. So because I don't want to give you a financial advice, because nothing is clear. We had a gap, price went to fill it and went down. We had a gap, right? Price went down to fill it and price moved up. Here we go. So now we have a gap, as you can clearly see, and here's the lower bound of the gap, and price may probably reverse from here, especially that we have a 500 and we have our lower red trend line, right? So around here would be a very strong area to look for buy setups. Look how much information we gathered from weekly and daily time frame to know where we stand in the market and to know when to look for buy setups and when to look for sell setups. Look, here we have the gap, right? We have the 500, we have this red trend line, and the upper side we have this brown trend line, we have this red trend line, and we have the 600. So around here, which is an area, or don't ever draw laser lines on your chart or laser levels that I'm going to look for buy setups at the 500 exactly, right? It's always an area. So here's a very strong area to look for buy setups. I usually like to make it like this. Let me show you. Here we go. I like to make it like this. I'm going to look for buy setups, and I usually put this like this. I'm going to look for longs for buy setups as price approaches this area, and I'm going to look for sell setups as price approaches this area. For now, I've deleted it to make our chart cleaner, and now we zoom into lower time frames. And of course, as mentioned before, since this one is broken, it's not really broken, as we had a gap and then price went down. For a level or a zone to be broken, we want two big momentum candles. For now, as you can see, we only had one momentum candle. Now, if we had another big momentum candle, then we can say that this one is broken and we'll be looking for buy setups on its retest. But it's not really broken yet. And you can but on weekly time frame, it's not broken. So you can keep it either this way, or you can simply, here we go, make an offset for this channel. And that's it. Let me make it lower. And as you can clearly see, it's a typical clean channel, right? Let me fix this one and put the auto again. Here we go. Right, so from daily time frame, we know that price is trading inside this channel. We had a momentum impulse movement upward, as mentioned from weekly. Price is now stuck inside this range, right? So we'll be looking for buy setups around the lower trend line, trend following buy setups, and sell setups around the upper red trend line, right? And here we go. So that's what we know from daily time frame. Now we can zoom into lower time frames and look for possible sell setups here and buy setups here. And since price is now midway, right? It's sitting in the middle of nowhere, and some people call it no man's land, right? We are not interested in buying or selling Netflix. We're waiting for it to approach this area to look for longs, or approach this area to look for shorts, for high probability shorts and longs with a good risk to reward ratio. Of course, I don't think that we can add anything from H4. That's right. Now we can zoom into a H1 and M30 time frame to look for possible buy setups. For now, price from a short-term perspective, price is overall bearish, right? Here we go. Lower lows and lower highs, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, and lower low, lower low, lower low. So we are in a bearish trend from a short-term perspective. But since price is approaching a very, very strong area, as mentioned before, we have our gap that need to be filled, right? We have our 500 and we have our red trend line. So from here, we'll be looking for buy setups, for trend following buy setups in this case. So that's why let's zoom in and we'll try to draw trend lines. Here we go. Let me extend it around here and let's make it in orange since we already have many colors, right? So for now, we know that we are overall bearish and we can even make an offset, and here we go. So for now, we're waiting for Netflix to trade even lower and lower, right? And then we'll be looking for buy setups when the last high is broken upward. So price doesn't have to make this movement exactly, but we'll be waiting for a new swing. First of all, we want Netflix to go lower, right? Because we are only interested in buying around here, around this entire area, right? We have a gap, 500 and red trend line, and only selling around here, right? But here we didn't have a sell opportunity. As you can clearly see, price went up aggressively and then went down. But if we can go back, here we go. We can go back if you zoom in. That's it. We could look for setups around here since we have our brown trend line and red trend line, and of course the 600 above it. And we also have a very good, here we go. We had a very good supply zone around here. We can see it even better from H4 and H1 since we only monitor supply and demand zones from daily and weekly. And yes, by the way, since we are talking about supply and demand, hopefully the next video would be about supply and demand. What are supply and demand, how to identify it, how to trade it, and so on. But here, let's get back to Netflix. Price is going up, making higher highs and higher lows, right? But starting from here, the momentum is getting weaker and weaker. Price was making big impulse, but here price started to make very small impulse movement. Then here we had an aggressive correction downward. So as price approach around here, and here, starting from here, we are starting to look for sell setups since price is approaching a very strong resistance area, right? And as you clearly see here, we had a head, right shoulder and left shoulder and right shoulder, right? Cheers. So price was going up, hit a resistance, a very strong rejection area, formed a head and shoulders pattern, and the head and shoulders pattern is simply a market structure. Market structure perspective, we can see that if price was going up, making higher highs and higher lows, then price failed to make a higher high and instead made a lower high, right? So that's our early alert that the bulls are tired, but nothing is confirmed yet. The confirmation would be after a momentum candle close below the previous low, which is known as the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern. That's exactly what happened. Price was going up, higher highs, higher highs, higher highs, higher lows, blah, 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 blah. And then price couldn't make a higher high. Price made a lower high. So now we have a head and shoulders pattern. Left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. And here would be our neckline covering the entire structure. Our entry would be after a momentum candle close below the neckline, stop loss above the right shoulder, and 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around our lower support area. And starting from here, we'll be looking for buy setups. So let's continue, and here as well we can start to look for buy setups. Anyway, let's focus on the current price action now. Price rejected our upper resistance without giving us a clear entry, so we didn't sell here, but we are starting to look for buy setups as price approaches our lower support. Now price can still break our upper orange trend line upward, but we will not buy since price is sitting in the middle of nowhere, as mentioned before. Then price breaks it upward. We know that we may have this movement. We are bullish as price broke above the last high, right? So we have a shift in momentum from a short-term perspective, but we will not buy, right? Since price is not sitting around the support. We're only interested in buying here and selling here. So now if price breaks it upward, we'll wait for it to approach our all-time high and this rejection area to look for sell setups. But for now, since it's sitting inside this channel, we'll be waiting for it to form a new swing high. First of all, waiting for it to approach our lower support area, and then to look for buy setups. And here's a probable scenario. Then we'll enter buy after a momentum candle close above the last swing high, and of course our stop loss goes just below the previous swing low, and we target a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around our upper rejection area. And of course price can still go down, trade a little bit around here for maybe like a double bottom pattern, right? And then we'll enter on the neckline, break upward, or even an inverse head and shoulders. So we can't really know what may happen, but we know from a market structure perspective and from weekly and daily time frames that we are interested in buying Netflix around here. And of course, let me remove, don't want to see it on daily, right? Not on weekly, and this one as well. Unless, right? So we are overall bullish unless price breaks our lower red trend line, right? Of course, not only the trend line, the last swing low, then and only then we can say that we may have a shift in momentum. And for those who like to enter long-term trades, can enter a sell, stop us above the last swing high, and 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which would be around this support area, right? Which is from weekly time frame. Here we go, which is around here. Here we have a very, very strong area to look for buy setups, as we have this outer trend line in brown and this 400, which is a very strong resistance and very strong round number. So if price breaks it downward, as mentioned from daily, we can look for sell setups on this swing low break downward, sell, and then as price approaches this area, we'll be looking for trend following buy setups. That's for our reversal scenario. And for our, here we go, let me show you. And here we go. And for our trend continuation, we have this ascending triangle from weekly time frame, as this one isn't broken yet. In this case, to have a trend following setup, just like what happened here, we want a big bullish candle, very big one, or at least two, either a very, very big one or two small ones, okay? Not very small, momentum ones, but either a big one or two smaller ones, okay? Then only then we can see that the bulls are gaining momentum again, gaining control again, and we'll be looking for trend following buy setups on 3-test. So these are the only possible, all the possible scenarios on Netflix. And hope you liked the video, and I'll see you on the next one. If you have any questions or would you like me to talk about a specific topic, as I'm running out of ideas, just you can feel free to let me know in the comments, and I would be happy to add it to my video list. And hopefully next time would be about supply and demand. Cheers and trade safely. Bye-bye.